This is my review for futures price action on March 9th, 2026. No trades were taken today. I was just looking at price. There was a few setups that were good, but our overall higher time frame narrative was a bit tricky today. So I'm gonna go over that. I'm gonna go over why we manipulated, why we distributed, and all that. Okay. So overall, in our higher time frame, we have been accumulating over these past 4 months, 5 months. We've just been accumulating within this November's range and not really doing shit. We had this little move in February, but after that, just accumulation for about 3 weeks. Now, going into March, what does our monthly power of three do? Well, we can look at that real quick. Our monthly power of three, we immediately open and start accumulating. We don't really do fucking anything. Accumulate. So basically, we did nothing last week. Now, going into this week, what do we do? Well, we immediately open, and this is mostly due to news, with around a 230 point gap, 230 point NWOG. Now, what's significant about this distribution lower? Well, we took out all of our higher time frame draws, which we have been looking at pretty much since February. This low right here has no sequential SMT. It's engineered with this previous quarter low. So we had our previous quarter low, our previous month low, and our previous week low, all as our higher time frame draws, which all got swept overnight in this move. So basically, we distributed 650 points overnight and took out all of our higher time frame sell side draws with no immediate draws lower. Our immediate draws lower were about 900 points lower. So we sweep all of our really relevant higher time frame draws and then come back up. Now, I was looking at this. I'm going to post my pre-market analysis. So this is what I said. We broke out of our range and we took out immediate sell side draws. Okay. We look at our quarterly, our monthly. We're both distributing lower. Daily power three could be forming open, low, high, close with bullish devil's mark that has been filled. Could go either way. Structure wise, there's daily cycle at current day high inside a 90 point or 200 point NWOG. Blah blah blah. That was invalid. I was tripping. And yeah. Oh. So pretty much, actually, what we had instead of the 90-minute that I thought we had no sequential SMT, and I realized this after I posted that pre-market, so I knew that we had no sequential. We have no sequential SMT at our lows, so this entire reversal is not valid, especially for our monthly power of three. It makes no sense. If our monthly power of three is going to accumulate, manipulate, and then form no sequential SMT at our lows, how are we going to validate our distribution in our monthly power of three? It doesn't make sense. So that's why going into the pre-market, I was neutral. I knew it could go either way because I knew there was a chance that we fill our NWOG, but I was more bearish than bullish because why would we reverse and come all the way back up and to when we have no sequential SMT? Also, when we fill an NWOG, it normally means price is seeking a higher time frame objective higher. So we're probably going to continue higher after this. Anyways, our monthly power of three and our daily power of three have no sequential SMT at the lows. Let me play this here. See your daily, yeah. So no sequential at the lows. So going into the day, I was more bearish than bullish. I was pretty much neutral, and what we ended up doing is expanding. But I want to go into the intraday price action that I watched. So we're gonna drop down here. Actually, solve them triads. Okay. All right. So yeah, like we've gone over, no sequential SMT at our lows. Took out all of our previous draws lower, and now we are pretty much within this range, accumulating right before market open. So go forward a little bit to market open. Oh, all right. Now, right before market open, we're accumulating. We actually have right here, if you can see, we ended up putting in daily cycle sequential here with YM failing to run out the daily high and ES and NQ running it out. So we have daily cycle sequential going in, and we also have 90-minute at our lows. So we're overall obviously accumulating with the 90-minute at the lows and the daily at the highs. So 90-minute daily cycle at highs, and it really all depends on what our 30-minute power of 3 develops as. So let's take a look at that. And this is how we were supposed to be trading this. Now, 9:30 opens. What does 9:30 immediately do? Well, we immediately run out the previous Q2 of our daily cycle, but we only run it out on NQ. So we form another daily cycle here, form daily cycle doubling. Now, what does this mean? Well, it means overall, we are yet to reach our objective and we are kind of just chopping. Like we don't really have any structure. So doubling, that's what doubling means. And we form, daily cycle doubling. And we also form 90-minute hidden right here. So 90-minute hidden, daily cycle doubling. What does that mean? Well, we can analyze the 15-minute for cracks and correlations and the 5-minute. Now, immediately after this, are we done? Okay. What do we form? Well, look at our 30-minute power of 3. We have our open. We put in our high, daily cycle doubling, 90-minute. And then we create PSP, but not just any PSP, PSP open close divergence. So we create a PSP, we have an open close divergence. This technically validates us to drop down to a 1 minute. And this is where a first entry could be found. Now, that happened at 9:35, so 9:35, let's look at it here, is when we could go on it, and we have a 1 minute swing divergence. 1 minute swing divergence, and then we immediately get a 1 minute CFC, but we could have entered off a 15-second CIC here. Now, what's the problem? We had no 15-second CIC. I don't have the 15-second chart on here, but we had no 15-second CISD in this entire leg upwards. This was just straight rallying upwards. Now, we could have taken a CISD here, but it wouldn't have been valid. So I think the 15-second CISD was around here. We could have taken this here, obviously targeted this, and it would have played out. But this setup was overall not valid due to no CISD. Our CISD was on here on the 1 minute and the 15-second. So immediately that first setup is invalid, and we proceed to chop for the rest of our 30-minute power of 3. Now, going into our 10 a.m. power of 3, what do we have? Well, structure-wise and cracking correlation-wise, we have nothing, but our 10 a.m. actually is pretty much what distributed for the rest of the day. Now, immediately at our 10 a.m., which was here, we open, no manipulation lower, and we come up. Now, this would be perfect for trading our 4-hour power of 3, since we have our technically our smart money reversal here, and we have a retrace into the order block. And did we form any swing? No. But we had no swing divergence, so this short was also invalid. But here's the real problem. We don't have any sequential here. For our 4-hour power of 3, we most of the time want to see a sequential. We can sometimes fade it if it's a very obvious continuation. But as we can see on the 5-minute, is practically just chop. It's practically this chop. So that's why I also didn't enter on anything here, because this was just not valid. Now we can see that this is correct. After the 30-minute power of 3 comes down, actually creates micro here between Q2, Q3, or sorry, Q3, Q4. That here. Sorry. Like that. So we form micro, and then we ultimately distribute higher within our 4-hour power of 3, and we target our NWOG. So that's overall the price action today. It wasn't anything crazy. Pretty much just accumulated our 10 a.m. power of 3, put in micro, and we distributed higher. We invalidated this 90-minute. We invalidated our daily cycle. We invalidated our 90-minute. And so really, when we could have flipped to bullish is after we took all this stuff on YM. So about here was where we looked to. And this was actually, I actually haven't looked at this. Let me look at this. Could have been a pretty valid entry, to be honest. So like here on YM, around here is where we invalidate all of our sequential SMTs once we break above this high. So around 11:30, hold on. I think this might have been maybe the only potentially valid trade. We have an obvious draw on liquidity being our NWOG. And what happens within our 30-minute power of 3 here? Well, we immediately distribute lower with no manipulation higher. And we're right below our NWOG. So this is a pretty obvious draw. Being our NWOG. Oh. And such. So let me see if we have a sequential. Here, a micro would be chill. Hold on. Oh. So micro low. Micro. Okay, yeah. This is actually pretty valid. Put in micro. No, 90, nothing else. So we put in a micro, and then we can look for a 15-second CISD out of this, or a 1-minute CISD. If I had the 15-second, this I would be able to unlock this, but I don't. Let's just say our 15-second after we formed the micro, we had like a 15-second right here. Stop at the low. Target this for 2R. Do we have anything we could have drawn for higher? We could have drawn for this imbalance here. We have a something good. If we drew for this imbalance, if we targeted this imbalance at the low of this imbalance, we could have a 1 to 3. And this looks like it plays out pretty nicely. Yeah. Only problem is it doesn't really fit within time. You probably break even. Yeah, so you break even at NWOG, and then you take that higher. So this looks like pretty much the only valid setup of the day. This 11:30 long for Fears model because we're supported by micro. We're ranging up, obviously strong liquidity. We can target this imbalance here. So yeah, this looks pretty good for that day, for this day. But other than that, price action was pretty ass, and yeah, thanks for watching.